the conservative movement spent a full decade mocking claims of racism, mocking claims that people on college campuses need anti-discrimination protection. And then the Trump administration gets in and makes it one of their top priorities, one of their very top priorities, to declare that there's a racism epidemic in the United States, but only against one group. There's only one genuinely marginalized, true victim group in the United States, and that's American Jews. And the Trump administration has been doing everything, no matter how much it harms American citizens or American interests, to purge the world of this one form of bigotry that it claims has pervaded all American institutions. And it will sacrifice anything to do so. Now, this is not new. This is just how extreme these things can get in the framework of American politics. In 2017, Texas was hit by a horrific hurricane, Hurricane Harvey. And a city in Texas had a program to give relief funding, people who lost their homes, people who lost their cars, their belongings. But as this BBC article makes clear, they required that people sign an Israel pledge, the citizens, the residents of their city, before they could get hurricane relief. You had to sign a pledge vowing you will never boycott this one foreign country. You're free to boycott all 192 other countries on the planet. You're free to boycott other American states or other American cities, as people have done over the last decade. You just can't boycott this one special country called Israel. And if you do, as an American citizen, if you don't sign this loyalty oath, you will be denied hurricane relief funds from one of the most devastating hurricanes of the last 20 years that massacred Texas. Imagine that. Imagine telling citizens of the United States, you are not eligible for hurricane relief and disaster relief while their homes are destroyed, their cars and belongings are destroyed, unless you first sign a loyalty pledge to Israel. That is a condition to signing it. The Trump administration clearly used that as a model, because earlier today, they released this policy as described by Reuters. U.S. links $1.9 billion in state disaster funds to Israel boycott stance. Quote, U.S. states and cities that boycott Israeli companies will be denied federal aid for natural disaster preparedness, the Trump administration has announced, tying routine federal funding to its political stance. The Federal Emergency Management Agency stated in grant notices posted on Friday that states must follow its, quote, terms and conditions. Those conditions require that they certify they will not sever, quote, commercial relations specifically with Israeli companies if they need to qualify for funding. The requirement applies to at least $1.9 billion that states rely on to cover search and rescue equipment, emergency manager salaries, and backup power systems, among other expenses, according to 11 agency grant notices reviewed by Reuters. Quote, Homeland Security will enforce all anti-discrimination laws and policies, including as it relates to the BDS movement, which is expressly grounded in anti-Semitism, a spokesperson for the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, said in a statement. Can I just stop there for a second? The campaign to boycott Israel was based on exactly the same model that was used by American citizens to boycott apartheid South Africa in the 1980s, which is, this is an unjust government engaged in unjust acts, and we shouldn't reward them by doing business with them, by visiting. We're going to boycott them. There was a boycott of South Africa. It went on for years. Americans participated in it, Europeans. No one ever said that was racist, or no one got punished for that. And as I said, there have been boycott campaigns, successful ones, aimed at American states by Americans, by other states. They wanted to punish Georgia for their voting rights law. They lost huge amounts of business. They lost the Major League Baseball All-Star game, or a big NBA game. They had huge numbers of conventions and conferences pulled out of Georgia. They did the same thing to North Carolina and Indiana, because they enacted bathroom bills that say that you have to use the bathroom that corresponds with your biological sex at birth. to prevent trans people from using the bathrooms with which they identify. And a lot of American states, other American states, and a lot of American citizens and American businesses boycotted Indiana and North Carolina. And no one got punished under the Trump administration, the first Trump administration, for that. That was totally fine. You're allowed to boycott anybody except Israel. And the idea that it's anti-Semitic to boycott a state or a government is so offensive and so idiotic. In fact, the hate speech codes that the Trump administration are forcing American colleges to adopt that expand the list of ideas you're not allowed to express, which we've gone over before, the IHRA definition, includes as anti-Semitism an example that says holding all Jews responsible for the state of Israel's actions. Because the state of Israel is not Jewish people. You can oppose and object to and criticize and campaign against the state of Israel and its government without being racist. You could do that you can criticize the government of Nigeria without being guilty of anti-black racism. You can criticize the government of Saudi Arabia without being guilty of Islamophobia. Everybody understands this except when it comes to Israel. And this is how the Trump administration is justifying punishing American citizens, even denying them disaster preparedness funds to keep them safe and secure. The first duty of any government, to keep its citizens safe. The government is saying, no, that's not our first priority. Our first priority is to protect Israel. That's your America First government. It goes on, the requirement is the Trump administration's latest effort to use federal funding to promote its views on Israel. The American Jewish Committee supports the Trump administration's policy. What a shock, said Holly Huffengale, the group's director of anti-Semitism policy. The AGC is an advocacy group that supports Israel. Under one of the grant notices posted on Friday, FEMA will require major cities to agree to the Israel policy to receive a cut of the $553 million set aside to prevent terrorism in dense areas. And it goes on to describe all the different people who are going to lose funding. Now, this was announced through this Department of Homeland Security policy, which is the Department of Homeland Security Standard Terms and Conditions. This is from April, and then there was another one applied today. So under Section 17, entitled Anti-Discrimination, it says recipients must comply with all applicable federal anti-discrimination laws material to the government's payment decision. And then in paragraph D, it defines discriminatory prohibited boycott as refusing to deal, cutting commercial relations, or otherwise limiting commercial relations specifically with Israeli companies or with companies doing business in or with Israel, or authorized by, licensed, or organized under the laws of Israel to do business. Do you see that you can boycott anyone else that you want? Boycott French businesses, Peruvian businesses, Korean businesses, Japanese businesses, Russian businesses, Iranian businesses, Cuban businesses, whatever, anything you want. Even boycott businesses of North Carolina and Georgia and Indiana, and you'll be fine. Just under these guidelines of the federal government, the only prohibited boycott is one aimed at this one special, sacred foreign country whose interest comes even before disaster preparedness relief for American citizens. The government will deny that funding to American citizens if they don't have the right views on Israel. And the fact that this is done under the title of America First is about the biggest joke you can imagine. All day long, there was an eruption of outrage from this Trump administration announcement. Like, what do you mean? Why would American citizens be denied disaster relief if they don't agree not to boycott Israel? It's like you're allowed to boycott whoever you want as an American citizen. And in response to that, Homeland Security had to give a statement because a lot of even their own supporters were extremely confused and angry at how this could be. And they just denied it was true by saying this. They didn't really deny it, though. They said, there is no FEMA requirement tied to Israel in any current NOFO. No states have lost funding and no new conditions have been imposed. FEMA grants remain governed by existing law and policy and not political litmus tests. But then it goes on to say that DHS will enforce all anti-discrimination laws and policies, including as it relates to the boycott, divestment, and sanction movement, which is expressly grounded in anti-Semitism. Those who engage in racial discrimination should not receive a single dollar of federal funding. So, on the one hand, they're denying it, but then they're reiterating the fact that, yeah, if you're part of the Boycott Israel movement, as an American citizen, you will be denied even a single dollar of federal funding. Even if a hurricane destroys your house, or even if it's a program to prevent a hurricane from destroying your house and killing you and your family as an American citizen on American soil, if you participate in any way in a boycott of Israel, the government's saying you will not get a dollar from us, American citizens. Now, what actually happened here is that we showed you the government website had that language I just read to you. And it was only about an hour ago now, maybe even less, 45 minutes, that the government clandestinely removed that language. And then they come out and they say, oh, this is fake news. We're not imposing any new conditions. They had that language up all day in this document. And then they secretly removed it. And then they went on and said, this is fake news. And a bunch of Trump supporters were like, oh, it's fake news. I knew it. They would never do that. It's like you can see the language still up on their site. And then there's a new version where they removed it in response to the anger. And yet at the same time, they're preserving this language that lets them do exactly that. Here's Sagar Enjeti, who was one of the first to note that they actually changed the language. And then he said this, okay, after speaking with folks, here's what's going on. An original guidance from Homeland Security explicitly stated that federal disaster funding was barred from states that allowed boycotts of Israel. The White House changed this explicit language after widespread outcry, but the DHS tweet makes it clear that the administration reserves the right to deny those funds on boycott grounds based on the Anti-Boycott Act. That, in other words, they still might do it, they're just not saying it out loud right now. And there are a few cities around the United States, very few, but some, that have voted to boycott Israel. The idea is, as boycotting South Africa was designed to end apartheid, boycotting Israel originally was designed to end the occupation of the West Bank, which the entire world considers illegal, and the blockade of Gaza, same thing. And now it's to stop the war in Gaza. Boycotts are completely legitimate, nonviolent means of protesting a government or a corporate institution. People boycott things all the time. So here are a few examples. The East Bay Echo reported January 24th, 2024, the Hayward City Council narrowly approves divesting $1.6 million from company with ties to Israel. ABC News, May 2024, Richmond, Virginia becomes the second U.S. city to divest from Israel after Hayward. The Times of Israel, September 2024, Portland, Maine City Council votes to divest from companies doing business with Israel. The Detroit Free Press, October 2024, Dearborn to divest from weapons companies tied to Israel. So just weapons companies. How is that not the right of a government to say we're not going to do business with Israel? We're not going to buy products from Israeli companies, or for an American individual to do that? This is such a fundamental right. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.